Good morning. Welcome to Wisdom from the Porch. Wisdom from the Porch comes to you from Las Brisas Retirement in San Luis Obispo, California. And I'm Bill Degnan. Wisdom from the Porch is sponsored by elder placement professionals located in San Luis Obispo, California. And they can be reached by calling 805-546-8777. And also by our good friend Nucci's Fine Italian Restaurant in sunny California. And their number, you can reach them by 805-545-9444. Today, it's my pleasure and honor to introduce you to St. Charles. I met him and we just connected. I loved his whole concept of the art and of his profession is connecting holistically in his poetry. So we only have 30 minutes. I do not want to cheat him for his time. And I'd like to have him give a brief history from where he came from, and then he'll do some of his readings. St. Todd.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. As Bill mentioned, my name is St. Taj Gaines. My family originally came over to the States from the islands, the lower Antilles, if you're familiar, closer to the equator, to Sausalito, California, and it's where much of my raising was conducted. As I came into my professional career, I knew that I needed to get out of an urban center and sort of attach myself to a location where I could venture off to coastlines and into green spaces where my mind would clear from the daily obligations that we have with tech or the distractions of tech, and just get back to the natural source of writing and reading and being influenced by poets of old to find my own voice. So in doing so, I've come up with a manuscript called A Poetic Menagerie, which is accessible to you folks on Amazon. And I would like to read a piece from you today to share a level of the work that I do. I think that it will radiate well with you kind folks. So without further ado, if I may, the piece that I'm going to be writing for you is called, or reading for you today rather, is referred to She. Her very essence is childlike in its innocence. Her eyes are dubious, yet steeped in captivation, a majestic presentation, pools of emerald green. And when that glorious smile happens across her face, heaven's keepers slow to bear witness of this waking moment. This mortal goddess they do embrace. She is comprised of a finer genetic, so lovely it's radiant, the celestial creature, an enigma of this time and space. Brings forth mystic gifts of history's past to set align man's morally flawed discourse. She sleeps in beauty, and sorrowfully I weep, for she shoulders a sadness of past wrongs and words men have lied. Yet she loves deeply. This fact shan't be denied. Her truth is so simple, so green it's enviable. With certitude her soul illuminates a world of fallen. Alas, this poet's prose are longing still for a transcription of a sonnet that will suffice, depicting her remarkable courage and strength. For she is the epitome of a precious spring filled with the wonderment of eternity, one in which I will honor dutifully. Thank you, kind folks.
Beautiful. When did you write that?
I wrote that about 3 years ago. Yeah, about 3 years back.
Where did you get your inspiration for that?
Well, of course you would go there, right? My lovely wife was the inspiration for that piece. Bill's had the pleasure of meeting her. She actually scanned his heart. And, she's a local cardiac sonographer in the area, and yeah, she's been quite the inspiration for a number of my literary efforts met. You'll find within the inner workings of the poetry that there were little hints of her essence. She's a very private person, but I do turn a phrase well to draw on the metaphors that point directly to her. And when you get to know me, you get to know a little bit of her personality too. So.
That's beautiful. That's poetry from the soul. Beautiful. If you have any questions after a reading, please bring them up. One of the questions, where was he at? What drew him to this? And, so if you have any questions, just raise your hand after he has a reading. Go ahead.
Yeah,
And this book is available. Then I'll have some books.
That's the book there. And as I mentioned to you, kind folks, that is available on Amazon if you're familiar with the Amazon form. And I did provide a hyperlink for those who just need like a touch and relay. It drops into your cart. You can read a detail about it. It's been well received actually by the Amazon audience. So if you're someone who likes to review the purchase before you make the purchase, you have the opportunity to do so through that form.
What's the title?
It's called a poetic menagerie, sir.
I'm sorry.
It's a poetic menagerie.
Okay.
Read another one. We're
All
going to
right.
keep you busy reading.
Oh,
But
of
again,
course.
any questions, please bring them up.
Well, if I may share, I'd like to, since Bill would like me to commence, and I love an audience, to have these works received. I'll read another for you. So, this is for the gentleman in the room. If you have sons, or someone who
We have
has,
about 3 gentlemen in the room.
and ladies, I am going to round back to you. I do have one for you as well, so before my time runs short. But a gentleman said that you are not forgotten. If I may steal your ear for a moment. This particular poem is called Paragon. He stands virtuous and calm in his moment of truth, a model of excellence, established this in his youth. Recognized ignorance, but shunned modes from their cares. A soldier's valor, a valued treasure, esteem was paid through their stairs. Compassion filled him in battle, heaven's likeness his rage, conquered every level of evil dealt to unpin his stage. Regrets and reckless hostility oft poison such minds. Tranquil sages concede his worth of charismatic divine. Paradise knows no equal. Humility is his claim. Stood the victor valley of kings, but refused to embrace the reign. Hatred his kindness encircled, confused irrational minds. With his rootlets of tiny wisdom, illustrious so may they shine. Thank you.
Very interesting. Very interesting. For the ladies in the room.
Well, of course, ladies, I have a tremendous amount of appreciation for the feminine essence. I was raised by wonderful women and, of course, the men in my life, but the women in my life were more influential since I spent more time with them. My grandmothers, my mothers, my aunts, and older female cousins. After sort of coming up with the idea of how I wanted to convey my appreciation for all of those ladies, this is what I came up with. And this is for all of the mothers, grandmothers, aunts, and sisters in the room. It's called The Woman. You give men strength and purpose. You fuel our most intimate desires. Soft, sweet, sensual utterances minister and provide nourishment to the often desolate caverns which house a man's compassion. You love without boundaries, seduce in manners beyond imagination. It is madness pure how much I adore thee. Lust and loyalty relayed through a smile. When all seems hopeless and fraught with contempt, your enchanting presence heals. The mirror of your soul reflects a graceful, profound woman, whom every crimson-bathed, beating heart has so loved. You slumber the restlessness of troubled minds, and in moments of solace, your secrets, or the secrets of your perplexing soul, are revealed. Marvelous creature, you give me hope. Within this wondrous essence of hope, man is undone, bewildered, yet admittedly rendered infirm, while basking in the gloriousness of a most breath-stealing siren, maiden of principal happiness. Adoration's measure fails to yield. How Deceptively divine you truly are. Beloved muse of Jupiter's realm, a most superior creation, the woman.
That's beautiful.
Nice.
That is really beautiful.
Thank you.
Really beautiful. That brought me back to my childhood. My grandmother, they were from Ireland, and every Friday night, my grandmother and some of the other ladies, they would sit down and talk about folk tales. And as kids, just loved it. And the folk tales were basically poetry.
Mhm.
And this was beautiful. I reflected back to my childhood.
Glad that I was able to take you back, sir.
That's a good place to be.
So, folks, I'd like to read one more for you before I, conclude the reading for the day. This particular poem is called Synergy, and this is the most recent of the works that I put together before I had the book published 2 months back. It's called Take the Time to Fill This Remarkable Space with Each Palpitation of Your Precious Heart. The beat of its cadence, noticeably rapid at times, a scintillating reminder to keep your eyes wide shut, to focus solely on your brilliant interior. For the world is riddled with magnificent distraction, is it not? Oh, the levity of the life gift. It so caresses, fleeing, comforting winds, the cooling reassurance and gripping caress of its ocean's wake, the tender grip of its all-encompassing warmth, cast along the ever-present fireside. Let us discount not the brisk revelry experienced on cooler nights, spent amongst the wilds, entranced in the meditative enormity of a starry-spangled welkin. Nature's elements abound are perfectly imperceptible, a glorious depiction of impermanence, the synergy that is life.
I'm going to ask him a question.
Of course you would.
As you look at this audience, if you like writing, as I do, and reflecting, I myself pick up energy from the people.
Mhm.
I pick up energy and feel energy. As you sit here right now, and I handed you a pen, and I handed you a paper,
Mhm.
and you can look out at the audience, and then you have an audience that you never will see.
Right.
What would you put down on your paper how you feel today, looking for the first time at strangers that are no longer strangers for you because they met you face to face?
I'd say that I feel present.
What?
Present. For lack of a better descriptive, I don't want to say adorned because that sort of puts a valuation on your person as an object. But I think there is an element of acceptance, that's also been, because I feel like between the old and the young, there tends to be like a disconnect in communication. You can often feel unheard, and we can often feel like we don't there's nothing that we can say that you don't already know. But it's nice to be able to be that conduit of communication between my generation and your generation, because I think that you folks have a lot of insight to impart to me, and that's why when I read, if you have questions, I love that sort of interactivity, because feedback is important to me. You don't grow unless you're critiqued. No one's perfect, and I find that as I know that I have a gift, but I mean there's always something that can be implemented to make it more than it is. So I think when we conduct these readings, and if it has left an impression upon an audience, questions will naturally be raised at some.
My excitement comes every Thursday that I can do this.
Yes.
I can do this.
Okay.
It's the joy of bringing the word from the heart to others.
Right.
And then meeting a poet like this. It was amazing when I first met him. we met at Lucy's having a cup of tea. And it wasn't just a cup of tea any longer. It was poetry from an old man to a young man, an artist to an artist. And you could feel the energy and the comfort that I was able to understand his world and he was understanding my world. Two generations just gigantically apart.
It was a very organic conversation. To be
Yeah,
perfectly
very
honest with you.
organic. And think, not only generations, but good heavens, a country apart. And it was like, to me, it was like a dance. And then lo and behold, we're sitting there talking. Some man out of the blue, remember, came up and shook my hand. He said, "Oh, I saw you on YouTube. And my name is Bill Smith or something like that."
And I believe he was also a writer.
And he was a writer. So, and it was just a spark that three people could all of a sudden come together, and there was unity.
Mhm.
And the unity of poetry, it's beautiful. Shirley, one day, when I mentioned about you
Mhm.
months ago, she said, "Well, I would love to have this, to meet people like this
Right.
that bring a new vibrance to an audience."
Right.
And then I refused to go Facebook. I thought, just keep it simple. But when I met him, I said, this word and the soul of a spirit has to get out to reach everybody, because everybody is a listener in one form or another in life. And just before you all came in, someone, I forget who it was, said, "Oh, Hollywood's fake." And I mentioned to him, and we both agreed, in Hollywood, and a lot of the media, it's a glass house,
Mhm.
4 walls of glass, and they're sitting in there naked. We are the people who are the artist. We're the artist. You're the artist. You're the singer. You're the poetry writer. And to meet a young man like this, oh man, I just jumped with joy. And it sparked my intern. My intern and he have just turned it into a dance to get a message out and have a spark in other people's lives. So we made a bond and a pact now that we're going to do a lot of work together, reaching people in hospice and people our age. And anybody who wants to share, please do. Any thoughts? Because this isn't going to be the last time you see this man, I
I
hope.
promise I won't disappear.
Would you like to have him come back and share?
It would be a pleasure.
Well, let me hand it. If you want him back, give him a hand of prod.
Those were all too kind. Thank you for having me.
So after all that babble, what do you have to share?
Well, I'd like to express my humble thanks for you guys having me. Any opportunity that I have to share my words is a pleasure, and it's powerful for me. I wish my father would have lived long enough to see me publish, because that was something that he always wanted for me. And I honor him by the nom de plume that I'm writing under. Lord is my father's name. So that's how I'll move forward with the writings. And eventually, I have 2 more poetry manuscripts that I'm going to place out to the space under that nom de plume, and then I'm going to release a novel that'll be short stories with poetry intertwined. That'll be written under my name.
That struck me, if I may. He
Of
said,
course.
I lost my dad 9 years ago,
7 years ago.
7 years ago. And he said, I've never forgotten.
No, I live with that every day.
And he lives with it every day. And you can see, oh man, that just touched my heart, that this man is sharing his whole self to the world.
Well, when you lose someone close to you, especially, when you have a father like I had, it's like having a pillar ripped out of your life, and your house is tumbling now. So I don't think that I will ever get over my father's death. I think that I will learn to live with it. It's sorry, I'm still very.
You live,
Cancer is crushing. That's all I have to say. Cancer is crushing. It's
that's
all
beautiful.
this technology and we can't resolve it.
That's powerful. That's very powerful.
Thank you guys.
You're welcome. Do you want him back? He'll be back. We can do some stuff. So I really want to thank you very much. And Shirley, you were very inspirational in pushing me to do this.
Thank you, dear.
And after all, it's an English teacher, you know.
You need the
And then
analytical.
if you notice, it comes from the heart, his emotions. That is love. That's an expression of love. And I thank you very much, all of you, and see you next week. Thank you.
Sure.